AITA for kicking my sister out of my wedding after what she did during the rehearsal dinner. I, 29F, got married 2 weeks ago. My husband, 31M, and I have been planning this wedding for over a year. We decided on a small ceremony, about 80 guests, mostly family and close friends. I have one sibling, my sister, 26F, who I used to be extremely close with, but over the past couple of years, our relationship has become strained for reasons I'll get into. Growing up, my sister and I were inseparable. She was the loud, funny, outgoing one, and I was the more reserved older sister. For most of our lives, I didn't mind being in the background while she was the star. It's just how our dynamic worked. But as we got older, I started realizing that she had a habit of making everything about her. Birthdays, graduations, family events. She somehow always managed to become the center of attention. I chalked it up to her being young and a little immature, but that pattern never really stopped. When I got engaged, she was happy for me, or at least she seemed like it. She asked if she could be my maid of honor, and honestly, I was torn. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, but I'd always planned on asking my best friend, Hannah, 30F, who I've known since college and who supported me through everything. So I told my sister she'd be a bridesmaid, and she acted like it was fine, but I could tell she was disappointed. Fast forward to wedding planning, and things got tense. My sister started criticizing a lot of the choices I was making, the venue, the dress, the guest list. She said I was being boring and predictable, and that I was wasting the chance to do something memorable. I brushed most of it off, but it started wearing on me. Then came the rehearsal dinner. We had it at this beautiful little restaurant near the venue. Everyone was there, immediate family, the bridal party, close friends. The plan was simple: dinner, some short toasts, then home early so we'd all be fresh for the big day. Near the end of the night, my dad got up to make a sweet toast. After him, my maid of honor Hannah stood up and gave this incredibly heartfelt speech that made me cry. Then, uninvited, my sister stood up and said she had something to say too. I felt a little uneasy, but I didn't want to cause a scene, so I nodded and let her speak. Big mistake. She starts her speech by joking that she's surprised I managed to plan a wedding without her help. Then she launches into this long-winded, not-so-subtle roast of me, joking about how I used to be awkward and shy, how I never had any real boyfriends until college, and how I lucked out landing someone like my husband. People laughed nervously at first, but then she crossed a line. She brought on my ex, the one who cheated on me in college and basically destroyed my self-esteem for years. She joked that it was a miracle I ever recovered from that train wreck. My husband knows about my history, but many of our guests didn't. I felt exposed and humiliated. I cut her off, said that was enough, and she rolled her eyes and sat down like I was being dramatic. The rest of the night was awkward, and I barely slept. The next morning, I pulled her aside before the ceremony and told her she was no longer in the bridal party and that I didn't want her at the wedding. She thought I was bluffing. I wasn't. She started crying and begging, saying she didn't mean to upset me, that it was just jokes, and that I was overreacting. But I was done. I asked one of my cousins to take her back to the hotel. She wasn't at the ceremony or the reception. Since then, my family has been split. My parents think I was justified, but wish I'd handled it more privately. A few relatives have called me cruel for embarrassing my sister and said I ruined the family dynamic. My sister has been posting vague stuff on social media about fake people who can't take a joke. We haven't spoken since. My husband supports me fully and says he saw the whole thing coming. Hannah and my close friends think I made the right call, that the day should have been about me and not her attempt at a stand-up routine. Still, I feel a weird mix of guilt and anger. I keep wondering, was it really that bad? Should I have just let it go and dealt with it after the wedding? Did I overreact by kicking her out completely? Or was it the only way to protect my day from becoming another episode of the Sister's Name show? AITA, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for not wanting to raise my sister's baby after she passed away, even though I promised I would. So I, 34F, have always had a complicated relationship with my younger sister Emily, 28F. She was the golden child growing up, funny, beautiful, charismatic. I was the more studious, serious one. I don't say this bitterly, just to give you context. Emily had this way of making people fall in love with her, including my parents, who pretty much let her get away with everything while I was expected to have perfect grades and help raise her when they were busy. Emily struggled a lot in her 20s. She had issues with addiction, dropped out of college, and bounced between jobs and toxic relationships. I helped her as much as I could, financially, emotionally, but there was always this line I tried not to cross. I was her sister, not her savior. Last year, Emily got pregnant. The father is, to this day, unknown. She was adamant about keeping the baby, even though she had no job, no stable home, and was still in and out of rehab. I was concerned, obviously, but she swore this baby would be her turning point. I didn't believe her at first, but weirdly enough, it kind of was. She got clean. She stayed in a maternity home that helped her get back on her feet. She started therapy. She even began taking community college classes again. I was cautiously optimistic. I visited her often, bought her maternity stuff, helped set up a little nursery space in her room. We started talking more than we had in years. During one of those talks, about a month before she gave birth, she asked me if I would take care of the baby if anything happened to her. She didn't say it like she was expecting anything, just, worst case scenario. I hesitated. I really did. I'm not a mother. I don't want kids. I've been upfront about that for most of my adult life. I love my freedom, my quiet, my career, and I have no maternal instincts. But she looked so vulnerable, and I figured the odds of anything actually happening were low. So I said yes. Of course. If something happens to you, I'll take care of the baby. Fast forward. She gives birth to a baby girl, Ava. I'm there at the hospital. Emily looks the happiest I've ever seen her. She's glowing, proud, scared but strong. Things seem okay. Not perfect, but hopeful. Then, 6 weeks later, she dies. It was a car accident. A drunk driver ran a red light and hit her head-on while she was on her way back from a pediatrician appointment. Instant. She was gone. I was at work when I got the call. I still can't fully describe that moment. Just this black wave that swallowed everything. The next few days were a blur. My parents were a mess. The baby was placed temporarily with a foster family while legal things were sorted. And then came the inevitable question. When are you picking up Ava? I froze. Because in all the chaos and grief, I hadn't thought about that promise. That moment. That little offhand agreement I made because I never thought it would come pass. I told my parents I needed time. I told the social worker I needed to think. And then I sat in my apartment for 2 days straight, imagining what my life would look like with a baby. Not just for a weekend. Forever. No more spontaneous travel. No more sleeping in. Diapers, daycare, tantrums, milestones I never asked for. A child who would grow up knowing her mother died and her aunt hesitated. A child who might one day ask me why I didn't want her. I felt like a monster, but I also felt like I couldn't do it. So I told him no. I told the social worker I wasn't fit to be a parent and that my home and lifestyle wouldn't be safe or stable for a baby. It was mostly true. My job involves long hours and travel. I live alone. I have no parenting experience. And more than that, I just didn't want to. My parents were furious. Beyond furious. They said I was selfish, cold, heartless, that I betrayed Emily's trust, that I broke my word. My mom cried for hours. My dad, who barely speaks to me unless it's about taxes or logistics, told me he was ashamed of me. The baby was eventually adopted by a family that had fostered infants before. A same-sex couple in their late 30s who couldn't have biological children and were over the moon to be chosen. I met them once, briefly. They seemed wonderful. Kind, stable, loving. I asked if I could maybe stay in touch, and they said they'd be open to me writing letters, maybe visiting once Ava is older. But the rest of my family barely speaks to me now. My parents told extended relatives I abandoned Ava. My cousin said she hopes I never have kids because I clearly don't deserve them. My aunt unfollowed me on everything. Some friends have been supportive, but even a few of them said they don't know what they would have done in my shoes, which feels like a polite way of saying they wouldn't have done what I did. I think about Ava every day. I wonder if she'll be okay, if she'll be happy, if she'll resent me, if Emily would hate me if she knew. I wonder if I did the right thing by choosing what I believed was best for Ava, even if it wasn't me. So Reddit, AITA for not raising my sister's baby, even though I promised her I would. AITA for telling my wife that her second chance at motherhood isn't my responsibility. I'm a 38-year-old man married to my wife, Erica, who is 42. We've been married for 5 years, together for 7. I have no kids of my own by choice, and when Erica and I got serious, she made it clear she had a 17-year-old daughter from a previous relationship named Tessa, who lived with her dad. They had a strained relationship at the time and barely saw each other. Erica was honest that she had been a pretty absent mom during Tessa's childhood due to some difficult life circumstances and poor choices. When we moved in together, I thought this was going to be a child-free life. Not that I hated kids, but I never wanted to be a parent, and I've always been upfront about that. Erica agreed. She said that part of her life was behind her, and she respected my boundary. Fast forward to 2 years ago. Tessa, now 19, shows up at our house after a major falling out with her father. I'm not going to get into her side of the story because that's not the point here, but basically, she needed a place to stay. Erica didn't hesitate. She told me after the fact that she invited Tessa to live with us just for a little while. That little while has turned into 2 years. At first, I tried to be welcoming. I stayed out of their way and gave them space. Tessa was quiet but polite enough. But slowly, Erica started to shift. She became obsessed with being mom again. She'd cook Tessa elaborate breakfasts every morning, try to get her to do mother-daughter spa days, and would come to me constantly talking about how this was her second chance. She kept saying how she got it wrong the first time, and now could be the mom she always wanted to be. It was awkward to witness, honestly. Tessa seemed uncomfortable with the attention and didn't reciprocate the enthusiasm. She often stayed in her room, skipped meals, or left the house without telling anyone. But Erica kept pushing, like she was trying to squeeze 20 years of missed parenting into a few months. I tried bringing up my concerns gently, but Erica got defensive. She said I didn't understand because I wasn't a parent. She also started asking me to be more involved, like offering Tessa career advice, teaching her to drive. Yes, she still doesn't have a license, or even helping her get a car. She'd say things like, "It would mean so much coming from you," or "She needs a father figure." That last part made my blood run cold. I reminded Erica that I never signed up to be anyone's father figure. She said, "Well, you married someone with a child. That's kind of part of the deal." I responded that I married someone with an adult child who didn't even live with her. That was a very different reality than what we were now dealing with. She accused me of being cold-hearted and unwilling to adapt. It came to a head last week when Erica sat me down and said she wants to help Tessa buy a used car, and she expects me to co-sign the loan. I flat out said no. I don't co-sign for anyone, especially not a 21-year-old who doesn't have a job and has a questionable relationship with both her parents. Erica got furious. She said I was trying to sabotage her relationship with her daughter and that I didn't support her in her journey to heal her past. I told her, as calmly as I could, that I respected her need to reconnect with her daughter, but I was not going to finance it or participate in something I never agreed to. Then I said the thing I guess I shouldn't have. Your second chance at motherhood is not my responsibility. She stared at me like I slapped her. Got up, went to the bedroom. We didn't speak for almost 2 days after that. Now she's cold, distant, and keeps making passive-aggressive comments about how some people just don't understand what it means to grow. Tessa hasn't said a word about any of it, but I noticed she's been around more. I guess Erica told her something, or she overheard us. I feel like I've been forced into a role I never asked for. I empathize with both of them. I really do. I know Erica carries guilt, and I'm glad Tessa has somewhere safe to stay. But I didn't agree to become part of this emotional reconstruction project. I didn't ask to help raise an adult who doesn't want to be raised. And the idea that I'm a bad husband because I won't co-sign a car loan for someone I barely know and never agreed to support just feels unfair. Still, some of my friends, especially the ones with kids, say I should have expected this eventually and that I'm being too rigid. They say if I really loved Erica, I want to help her fix what's broken. One even said, "You married a mother. That role never ends." But to me, that's like moving the goalposts. Am I supposed to just accept any life change she makes and rearrange everything because she's suddenly decided to be a full-time parent again? So now I'm stuck. Erica's hurt, and I don't want to invalidate her emotions. But I also feel like I'm being pushed into a version of my life I never consented to. AITA? AITA for refusing to give up my honeymoon suite to my brother and his new wife. This blew up in my family, and I honestly don't know if I'm in the wrong here, so I'll let Reddit be the judge. I, 28M, got married to my husband, 30M, 3 weeks ago. We'd been together for almost 6 years and engaged for one. Our wedding was amazing, small, tasteful, exactly what we wanted. We didn't go extravagant, but we did splurge on one thing: the honeymoon suite at this historic inn in the mountains. It was this stunning, secluded place we'd both dreamed of going to for years. We booked it over 9 months in advance. My younger brother Kyle, 26M, is chaotic to put it nicely. He's impulsive, always jumping into relationships, quitting jobs, asking for money, etc. He'd been dating this girl, Megan, for like 3 months when he found out we were getting married and suddenly decided he and Megan needed to lock it down too. So they planned a wedding for the same weekend as ours, Sunday instead of Saturday. Different venues, about an hour apart. Yes, it was incredibly annoying. My parents tried to convince him to postpone it, but Kyle claimed it was destiny, and he couldn't wait. Whatever. We figured it would just be a chaotic weekend and got over it. Now here's where the problem happened. On the night of our wedding, my husband and I finally get to the honeymoon suite around 11 p.m., exhausted and happy. We're literally in the middle of opening champagne when the front desk calls and says someone is asking to speak to me. I pick up. It's Kyle. He says their hotel screwed up their reservation and gave away the bridal suite he and Megan were supposed to have. He asks if they can crash in our suite just for the night, and he promises they'll be gone first thing in the morning. I thought he was joking. I said, "Dude, this is our wedding night." Absolutely not. He whines that they have nowhere to go, that all the nearby hotels are booked because of the holiday weekend, and that they'd have to sleep in their car. I ask why they didn't check in earlier or confirm their booking, and he says, "It's not our fault. The lady at the desk was rude and messed it all up." I tell him again, "Oh, we paid for this room. We planned this." He had months to prepare. This was not an emergency. This was poor planning. I hang up. 15 minutes later, I get a knock on our suite door. It's my mother. She drove an hour to the inn and is now standing outside our door at midnight in a robe, pleading with me to just let them sleep on the couch or something so they don't start their marriage homeless. I was livid. I told her this was insane and that she needed to leave. My husband got involved and firmly told her to go. She tried to guilt trip us. I didn't raise you to be selfish, but eventually left when she realized we weren't budging. Next day, we find out Kyle and Megan ended up staying at some crappy motel 40 minutes away, and Kyle made a big dramatic Facebook post about how family means nothing, and some people care more about bathtubs and room service than helping out blood. Since then, I've been getting nonstop texts from family members saying I should have helped out, that it was just one night, and that I ruined their honeymoon out of spite. Even my dad said I could have compromised and let them stay in the sitting area or something. Only a few people, my cousin and one of my aunts, have said Kyle was completely out of line. I don't know. I didn't think it was a big ask at first. It felt wildly inappropriate to me, but with how many people are saying I overreacted, I'm starting to wonder if I was being selfish. Could I have just sucked it up for one night? Or was I right to hold my ground? AITA? AITA for refusing to give my sister the heirloom ring, even though I don't plan on using it? So, I, 29F, am currently single and not planning on getting married anytime soon. I just got out of a long-term relationship earlier this year, and I'm not in a rush to start over. Meanwhile, my younger sister, Emily, 24F, just got engaged to her boyfriend of 3 years, Jake, 27M. They're planning a wedding for next fall, and it's become the only thing anyone in the family talks about lately. Our grandmother passed away 5 years ago and left behind a few heirloom items, one of which was her engagement ring. It's a beautiful vintage ring from the 1940s with a unique marquise diamond and intricate detailing. Our grandmother was very traditional and made it clear in her will that the ring should go to her first granddaughter to become engaged. But here's the thing. Even though I wasn't engaged at the time, my grandmother had always told me in private that she wanted me to have it, regardless of the engagement part. She was always a bit more affectionate with me. We shared a love of books, baking, and old movies. She'd often say, "This ring is yours when the time comes." After she passed, my mom held on to the ring for safekeeping. About 2 years ago, when I was still in my previous relationship, she gave it to me, saying she knew Grandma would have wanted me to have it. It's been in a safe in my place ever since. I haven't worn it. I didn't feel right wearing an engagement ring when I wasn't engaged, but I've always considered it mine. Flash forward to last month when Emily got engaged. At the family dinner where they announced it, she turned to me and said, "And of course, I'd love to wear Grandma's ring. It would mean so much." Everyone sort of turned and looked at me like I was supposed to just hand it over. I froze and awkwardly smiled, but didn't say anything. Later that night, she pulled me aside and brought it up again. I gently told her that I wasn't comfortable giving her the ring. She was shocked and asked why not, especially since I wasn't using it. I told her that Grandma had told me personally several times that she wanted me to have it, that it's not about being engaged first. It's about the connection I had with her. Emily got upset and said that I was being selfish and petty, and that I clearly didn't even value the ring since I had it locked away somewhere like a museum piece. I told her that just because I'm not engaged doesn't mean I won't ever be, and that I plan to use it someday if I meet the right person. She said that if I really valued it, I would want to see it being used for something joyful like her wedding, instead of collecting dust. Since then, it's blown up in the family. My mom is trying to stay neutral, but clearly thinks I should just give it to Emily. She keeps bringing up the line from Grandma's will about first granddaughter to become engaged. My dad said he understands my side, but also said it's just a ring and not worth causing a rift over. Emily and I haven't spoken in a week, and she's now shopping for other rings, but she's making it very clear to the rest of the family that she's hurt and angry. Some of my cousins have even messaged me saying I'm being cold-hearted and that Emily has always looked up to me and never asked for much. That this is her moment, and I should let her have the ring since I'm not even close to getting married. It's honestly making me feel like crap. I don't want to ruin her engagement or wedding, and I do understand that from her perspective, it looks like I'm holding on to something I may never use. But at the same time, it feels wrong to just give it away like it doesn't mean something to me. Also, not to sound bitter, but Emily and I have never been that close. Growing up, she was more into popularity and social stuff, and we ran in different circles. She teased me a lot when we were younger, called me Grandma's favorite, and once even joked that I was going to die alone with a library card instead of a wedding ring. We've been cordial as adults, but that stuff still lingers in the back of my mind. It's ironic that now she wants something so badly from the same grandmother she used to mock me for being close with. People keep saying, "You're not even using it," like that should be the end of the discussion. But I will use it if I get married one day. And honestly, even if I don't think I owe it to anyone to give away something that means a lot to me. Maybe I'm being too sentimental or possessive. Maybe I should just let it go. But it also feels like if I give in, I'm erasing everything Grandma and I shared and reducing her memory to some accessory for a wedding hashtag. AITA? AITA for canceling my daughter's wedding 2 weeks before the big day after what I found out at her bridal shower. I, 47F, have 3 kids. Jenna, 25F, Miles, 22M, and Lily, 19F. Jenna is my oldest and the most driven. She's always been extremely organized, meticulous, and focused, sometimes to the point of being controlling, but that's just how she is. She got engaged last year to Alex, 26M, who we all loved instantly. He's calm, patient, funny, and you could see how much he adored her. The wedding was set for 2 weeks from now, and we've been in full planning mode for months. It's going to be a large, elegant event. Think 200-plus guests, outdoor ceremony, live band, custom everything. My husband and I are paying for most of it, to the tune of about $40,000, because Jenna wanted the dream wedding. We were happy to do it. She's our firstborn, and we've been saving for this since she was a kid. So, the issue started at the bridal shower. It was a gorgeous event my sister and I threw for her at a garden venue. Everyone was there, family, friends, bridesmaids. About halfway through, Jenna got a little tipsy and started telling stories during a game one of the bridesmaids set up. Tell your wildest memory with the bride. Harmless enough, right? Well, one bridesmaid, I'll call her Danny, says, OMG, remember that Vegas trip 2 years ago? When we told Jenna she should just stay with Marcus because they had insane chemistry? Everyone laughed. I said, wait, who's Marcus? Jenna waved her hand like it was nothing. Oh, just this guy I kind of dated for like a month when Alex and I were on a break. That stopped me. This was news to me. I never heard about any break. I asked, you and Alex took a break? She shrugged. Yeah, kind of. It was mutual. We just weren't vibing for a bit. So I explored other options. Another bridesmaid chimed in. Explore is a gentle way of putting it. Cue laughter. I was stunned. I pulled Jenna aside and asked for the truth. She admitted that she and Alex broke up for 2 months, but she never told anyone because it wasn't serious and she didn't want me to freak out over nothing. Apparently, she dated 2 different guys during that time, Marcus being one of them. They slept together a few times, but she insists it was casual. I asked if Alex knows. She said, technically no, but it's not like I cheated. We were broken up. I asked why she didn't tell him. She looked me dead in the eye and said, because it would destroy him, and there's no point. It's ancient history. This rattled me. I know Alex. He's a sensitive, thoughtful guy. He would never withhold something like this. He once cried because he forgot to tell Jenna he ran into an ex at a conference. He's incredibly open and believes in full honesty. Jenna knows this, and still, she's choosing to hide this from him. I stewed over it for a few days. I tried to convince her to tell him. She refused. She said if I told him, it would ruin her wedding and she would never forgive me. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I invited Alex out to lunch. I told him the truth. Every word. He was quiet, shaken. He thanked me. Then he asked for a few days. 2 days later, Jenna calls me screaming. Alex called off the wedding. He told her he couldn't marry someone who kept something so big from him. She lost it, accused me of sabotaging her life. My husband is furious with me. He said I overstepped in a massive way and betrayed our daughter's trust. My younger kids are split. Miles thinks I did the right thing. Lily thinks I'm cruel and selfish. Friends are weighing in. Some say I saved Alex from a marriage built on lies. Others say it wasn't my place to interfere. For what it's worth, I didn't do it because I dislike Jenna. I love her, but I also love Alex, who is about to commit his life to someone who deliberately misled him about something very real. I couldn't stand by and watch that happen. If the roles were reversed and Alex had hidden something like that from Jenna, I believe she would have ended the relationship too. Now the wedding is off, the vendors are half canceled, and we've lost thousands. Jenna won't speak to me. My husband is sleeping in the guest room, and I keep wondering if I blew up my family over something that wasn't even my business. So, AITA for telling my sister she needs to move out after what she did to my fiancé. I, 29M, have been with my fiancée Emma, 28F, for almost 6 years. We've been living together for 4. We got engaged 8 months ago and planned our wedding for early next year. Emma is my best friend, the love of my life, and truly the most patient and emotionally intelligent person I've ever met. Now, here's where it gets messy. About a year ago, my younger sister Cara, 23F, hit a rough patch. She broke up with her boyfriend, lost her job, and had to move out of their shared apartment. She had nowhere to go. My parents couldn't take her in, small condo, already caring for my grandmother, and she was running out of options. So Emma and I agreed she could stay with us for a couple of months while she got back on her feet. Initially, it was fine. Cara helped around the house, looked for jobs, and tried to contribute. But after 3 months, she still hadn't found work. Emma gently suggested some career coaching or even just part-time work, and Cara snapped. She accused Emma of being controlling and judgmental. I chalked it up to stress and talked Cara down. Things slowly escalated. Cara started making passive-aggressive comments toward Emma. Little jabs like, not everyone wants to be a perfect step-forward wife, or must be nice having everything handed to you. Emma has worked hard for everything she has, by the way. I confronted Kara more than once, but she always apologized and swore she'd do better. 6 months in, Emma told me she was feeling uncomfortable in our own home. She didn't feel safe leaving Kara alone with her things. Once, she found her journal moved from its usual place and pages bent back like someone had read it. Kara denied it, but Emma had a gut feeling. Then came the incident. Emma has a very old, very sentimental locket that belonged to her late mother. It's her most treasured possession. She keeps it in a little velvet box in our bedroom. One day last month, it vanished. We tore the place apart looking for it. Emma was distraught. She cried for 2 days. I even offered to replace it, though I knew it wouldn't be the same. Then I saw it. Kara wore it. At dinner. She came out dressed up to go out with friends, and there, plain as day, was the gold locket around her neck. Emma froze. I asked, "Is that Emma's necklace?" And Kara said, "Oh, this? I found it on the bathroom counter. Figured it was just costume jewelry." Emma stood up, calmly walked to the bedroom, packed an overnight bag, and left. She didn't yell, didn't scream, just said, "I'll be staying with my sister for a few days." I told Kara she had crossed a serious line and demanded she give it back. She did, reluctantly, and said, "I didn't think she'd notice it was gone." After that, Emma didn't come home for a week. We talked, and she said she felt violated, like her safe space had been taken from her. I agreed. I told Kara she needed to move out by the end of the month. That's when the real drama started. Kara went crying to our parents, telling them I was kicking her out on the street over a misunderstanding. They blew up my phone, saying family comes first, that Kara is struggling, and that Emma is overreacting. My mom said, "It's just a necklace." I snapped and told her, "No, it's not. It's a boundary, and Kara has stomped all over every one of them. Now the whole family is against me." My aunt called to say I was heartless. My dad told me Emma is too sensitive. Kara told mutual friends that Emma can't take a joke and that I'm whipped. Only my older brother, who lives out of state, said I was doing the right thing. Emma came back after Kara left, but things aren't the same. She's distant, quieter. She says she still loves me, but doesn't feel safe in our home anymore. I asked her if she wanted to postpone the wedding, and she didn't answer right away. I feel like I've screwed everything up. I should have acted sooner. Maybe if I'd been firmer with Kara earlier, Emma wouldn't have felt so alone in this. But at the same time, I did ask Kara to leave. I did choose Emma. Still, the guilt is eating me alive. My whole family thinks I'm the asshole for choosing my fiancé over my sister. They say blood is thicker than water and that marriage can wait, but family is forever. So, Reddit. AITA for telling my sister to move out after what she did to my fiancé. AITA for kicking my brother and his fiancé out of my wedding after what they did during the reception. So, I, 27F, got married 3 weeks ago. My husband, Kyle, 29M, and I have been together for 5 years and got engaged last summer. We're both really private people and wanted our wedding to reflect that small, intimate, no huge displays or attention-seeking stuff. We agreed on a guest list of 50 people, just close friends and family. We spent months planning everything to reflect our personalities. Quiet, romantic, tasteful. Enter my older brother, James, 31M, and his fiancée, Vanessa, 30F. They've been together for about a year and a half. Vanessa is a lot. She's very outgoing, social media obsessed, and kind of the center of attention type. That's fine, I guess, but it has caused friction before, like her live streaming my grandmother's funeral or throwing herself a half-birthday party where she wore a ball gown and made everyone give her gifts. I had some reservations about inviting her, but I didn't want to create drama, and my brother assured me she'd be on her best behavior. I even had a conversation with her at our engagement party where I politely said that our wedding would be low-key, no flash mobs, no TikTok dances, no surprises. She laughed and said, "Oh, honey, it's your day? I wouldn't dream of stealing the spotlight." Fast forward to the wedding day. Everything was going smoothly. The ceremony was beautiful, and the reception was just how we wanted it. We had an acoustic band playing soft music, string lights, wine, and small plates. My dress was minimalist, and Kyle wore a navy suit. No drama, just vibes. Until the cake cutting. Kyle and I walked up to the cake table, and right before we cut the first slice, the music abruptly stopped. Everyone turned toward the stage, and there was Vanessa holding a microphone. She says, "Before the bride and groom cut the cake, I just have something so special planned for them." I locked eyes with James, who looked a little uncomfortable but didn't stop her. Vanessa proceeds to cue music. Apparently, she brought her own speaker, and suddenly she's singing, karaoke style, her rendition of 1,000 Years by Christina Perri. Not terribly, but not great either. And it wasn't short. A full 3-minute performance, complete with hand gestures and dramatic closing pose. Then she says into the mic, "Now you may cut the cake." Everyone clapped awkwardly. I looked at Kyle, who looked at me like WTF just happened. We tried to laugh it off and continued, but I felt a pit in my stomach. But it gets worse. Later, during what was supposed to be the final dance of the evening, Vanessa and James took the floor before us, and the DJ, who she apparently bribed, played their song. She gave a little speech again about love and soulmates and how she couldn't wait to feel this magic at her own wedding soon. That was the last straw for me. I pulled James aside and said, "This is too much. She's made this entire night about herself." He got defensive and said I was being dramatic and that Vanessa was just expressing herself. I said I didn't care and that they needed to leave. He said they'd only leave if I made them. So I did. I asked Kyle, and we both agreed. We weren't going to let anyone else hijack the rest of our night. So we told security, who we hired mainly to keep an eye on the venue entrance, to escort them out. It wasn't some dramatic dragging out situation, but they were clearly shocked. Now here's where I might be the age. Since then, my parents have been furious with me. They said I humiliated James and Vanessa in front of everyone and that I should have just let it go and addressed it later. My mom said, "You kicked your brother out of your wedding." Do you know how that sounds? James isn't talking to me. And Vanessa, of course, has made a series of passive-aggressive TikToks about jealous family members and how some brides are just insecure. Some of our extended family members are on my side. Others say I overreacted. I still feel like I was in the right. It was our wedding. We made our wishes clear. Vanessa ignored them. Twice. But it's hard not to second-guess myself when my own family is calling me cruel and cold. AITA? Hey friends, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. AITA for refusing to help my sister move in with her kids after she left their father without a plan. This all started about 3 months ago when my younger sister, Emily, called me out of the blue, practically in tears. She told me she was leaving her husband, Mark, and wanted to move in with me temporarily until she figured out what to do next. Emily has 2 kids, ages 6 and 9, and a pretty unstable history with Mark, including frequent fights and what she described as emotional abuse. I was sympathetic, of course. I'd always been close to her and wanted to help. The thing is, Emily's situation was complicated. Mark was the primary breadwinner, and Emily worked a part-time retail job, making minimum wage. She admitted she hadn't saved any money because most of it went to covering their debts and bills. I have my own place, a 2-bedroom apartment in a city where rent is already expensive, and I live alone. I'm 29, single, and work a steady job in IT, so my income is decent but nowhere near enough to support my sister and her kids long term. When she first called, I said she could stay a few days, just enough time to get her bearings and start planning. She promised it would be temporary, but almost immediately after moving in, she started asking for help with everything: daycare fees, groceries, clothes for the kids, and sometimes even my car to get around. I tried to help where I could, but I was also clear that I had limits. I'm still paying off my student loans and trying to save for my own future. As weeks passed, it became clear Emily wasn't looking for a job or trying to find a place of her own. She told me Mark was refusing to cooperate on custody, so she had no choice but to stay with me indefinitely. She also started to insinuate that since she was my sister, I had a moral obligation to support her, no matter what. I felt myself growing frustrated and exhausted because her kids are sweet but high energy, and I'm an introvert who works long hours. My apartment is cluttered, noisy, and chaotic now, and I can't relax or focus like I used to. I decided to have a serious talk with Emily about boundaries and expectations. I told her I love her and the kids, but I can't support her indefinitely. I asked her to actively look for work or housing so she could be more independent. That's when things went downhill. Emily accused me of being selfish and said I didn't understand what she was going through. She reminded me that Mark left her with all the bills and that she's doing her best. I agreed that she's in a tough spot, but I also said I have a life too, and I can't just put everything on hold for her. Since then, Emily has stopped contributing at all. She's late paying her share of utilities and has been demanding more money for food and school supplies. I asked her again to come up with a plan, but she brushed me off and said I was making her feel unwelcome. A few nights ago, she stormed out with the kids and said she'd find another place, but she hasn't contacted me since. I'm worried about her, but part of me feels relieved. My parents are divided on this. They say I should do more to help my sister because family sticks together. But my friends say I'm right to set boundaries and that Emily is taking advantage of me. I don't know if I'm the asshole for refusing to be the safety net for my sister and her children without any plan or effort on her part. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to support my sister indefinitely after she left her husband and moved in with me without a plan. AITA for telling my sister she can't bring her kids to my wedding after she invited strangers without asking. So, this is a long and complicated situation, and I honestly don't know if I'm the asshole here or if my sister crossed a major line. I'm going to try to explain everything as clearly as possible. A little background first. I, 28F, have been engaged to my fiancé, Mark, 30M, for about a year now. We started planning our wedding about 8 months ago. I come from a pretty big family, and my sister, Jess, 32F, is the oldest sibling. We've always had a bit of a competitive relationship, and sometimes it gets tense, but we usually get along. Mark and I wanted a somewhat intimate wedding, with close friends and family only. We have about 80 guests invited. My parents are supportive, and Mark's family is also coming. My sister has 2 kids, Emma, 6, and Lucas, 4. When we first sent out invites, we invited Jess and her husband and their kids because we thought it was appropriate. About 2 months ago, Jess reached out and asked if she could bring a few of her close friends and their kids to the wedding. She claimed these were people she had been close to for years and that she wanted to share this special day with them. I told her up front that the venue has a strict guest limit and that adding extra people would be difficult, but I'd see if there was any flexibility. A few weeks later, Jess sends me a message saying she has invited 4 adults and 5 children to come along with her family. I was shocked. That's more than double the number of guests she originally had. I asked her why she would invite so many people without asking me first. She said she thought it was okay since it was her plus ones and her kids' friends, and she wanted to make the day fun for her kids and friends too. At this point, I told her firmly that the guest list was not negotiable and that she could only bring her immediate family, her husband and their 2 kids. I reminded her that this was our wedding and we had budget and space constraints. Jess got really upset and started accusing me of being selfish and trying to control her. She also said I was ruining her kids' chance to have a good time at the wedding. She said that since I was excluding her friends and their children, maybe she wouldn't even come. I was really hurt by her reaction. I tried to explain that it wasn't about excluding anyone personally, but about logistics and respect for our wishes. I also said I wanted everyone at the wedding to be comfortable, and with that many extra kids, it would be chaotic. Then, about 2 weeks ago, I found out from my mom that Jess had started telling people that I was mean for not letting her bring her friends and their kids. She also told a few family members that she might not come at all because she felt unwelcome. Now, here's where it gets even worse. I learned that Jess had sent invitations to some of the kids she wanted to bring, and they were showing up at our wedding venue during the rehearsal dinner, without our knowledge or approval. Apparently, she didn't inform us she was bringing these kids, and some of them were strangers to our families. I confronted Jess about this, and she said she wanted her kids to have a normal experience and that she didn't see the harm. I told her that the rehearsal dinner was private and that this was highly disrespectful to me, Mark, and the venue. She got really defensive, saying that I was ruining the fun and that I was too uptight. I ended up telling her that if she showed up with anyone beyond her immediate family on the wedding day, we would have to ask them to leave because we couldn't accommodate extra guests. Now, the wedding is just a week away, and the tension between us is palpable. I feel like I'm being reasonable, but Jess is painting me as the villain. My parents are caught in the middle and don't want to take sides. Mark supports me and agrees that we need to stick to the original guest list. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister bring extra people to my wedding and telling her she can't bring kids she invited without my consent? Or is she overstepping by assuming she can invite strangers to a private event like this? I want to have a happy wedding day, but I'm worried this is going to ruin our relationship forever. AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? I've been debating whether to post this for a while because family drama is exhausting, but here goes. I, 28F, have a complicated relationship with my sister, 32F, and I want to know if I'm actually the asshole in this situation or if I'm justified. My sister has always been the golden child of the family, outgoing, charismatic, and the favorite of my parents. I'm more introverted and have never really been good at dealing with family expectations or drama. That's important context because it shapes a lot of what happened. About a year ago, my sister started dating a guy named Mark. From the start, I was wary of him, but I tried to keep an open mind. At first, he seemed fine, charming, friendly to our family, and polite. But over time, I noticed things that made me uncomfortable, especially how he treated my sister. He could be dismissive and controlling, but she was so enamored that it didn't seem to bother her much. One of the earliest red flags came during a family dinner. Mark kept interrupting my sister and making jokes at her expense in front of everyone. I thought maybe he was just trying to be playful, but when I gently pointed out that it felt disrespectful, he snapped at me and said I was being overly sensitive. It fell off, but again, I brushed it off because I didn't want to cause a scene. Fast forward to the past few months. My sister and Mark got engaged, and the wedding plans started. This is where things got really messy. Mark insisted on controlling every aspect of the wedding. He wanted a very lavish event, but also had very specific and sometimes bizarre demands. For example, he refused to have a single person there who he considered negative energy, which apparently included me. According to him, I was toxic for pointing out concerns about his behavior. My parents were conflicted. They want my sister to be happy, but also don't want to alienate me. They asked me to just play nice for the wedding and not rock the boat. I agreed, hoping things would stay civil. Then, about 2 months ago, I finally sat down and talked to my sister privately. I told her that I was worried about how Mark treats her, how controlling and dismissive he is, and that I feared she might be unhappy or even worse, trapped in an unhealthy relationship. She reacted very badly. She accused me of jealousy and trying to sabotage her happiness. She said I didn't understand their relationship and that I was trying to make her doubt herself. That hurt, but I still tried to be supportive. 2 weeks ago, I was talking to my sister on the phone when Mark suddenly took the phone from her and told me not to contact her again. I was shocked and angry. That's when I found out that Mark had been telling my sister that I'm manipulative and trying to turn our parents against him. She believed him. The final straw came last week when my sister sent me a formal invitation to the wedding, but with a note saying Mark explicitly did not want me there. My parents said they felt powerless to stop this because Mark was being very manipulative and threatening to call off the wedding if I was invited. I called my sister and told her I couldn't attend a wedding where I'm not welcome and where I believe she's being controlled by someone who doesn't respect her or our family. She told me I was being selfish and that if I loved her, I would put my feelings aside and be there for her. My parents are caught in the middle, and some extended family members are starting to take sides. I'm feeling isolated and guilty because I love my sister, but I also feel like I have to stand my ground for my own sanity. So, Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because of her fiancé? Am I being unreasonable for protecting myself and my boundaries? Or should I suck it up for my sister's big day? AITA for refusing to let my sister's kids stay in my house after she abandoned them during a family trip? So this is a long one, and honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything that happened. I, 33M, have a younger sister, 28F, and for context, she's always been kind of unreliable. She's been married for a few years and has 2 kids, ages 6 and 3. I'm married as well, and we have one daughter who is 4. Our parents have always been very involved with my sister's kids, mostly because my sister has struggled with maintaining steady employment and hasn't had much support from her husband either. My parents have stepped in more times than I can count to babysit, pick up kids from school, etc. I love my niece and nephew, but honestly, my sister's choices have put a lot of pressure on the family over the years. Now, here's where it gets complicated. A couple of months ago, our whole family, my parents, sister, her husband, the kids, my wife, daughter, and I, planned a week-long trip to a cabin in the mountains. The idea was for us all to relax, spend time together, and give the kids a chance to bond. My sister had been pretty difficult leading up to the trip, canceling plans last minute, but she insisted she was going to come. The first 2 days of the trip were fine, a little stressful because the cabin was small and everyone was there, but manageable. Then on day 3, my sister announced she was leaving, just packing up and leaving. When I asked why, she said she was fed up and couldn't handle being cooped up with everyone. She claimed that she and her husband had been arguing, and she just needed to leave for her mental health. That in itself was rough, but what happened next was what really blew my mind. She left her kids behind. Her husband left with her, but the kids stayed with the rest of us. She told us she was going to pick them up in a few days, but that never happened. My parents and I were blindsided. We asked her to explain why she was abandoning the kids in a place that wasn't their home, without her or their dad, in a cabin in the middle of nowhere. She just shrugged and said, "You're all here, so they'll be fine. I need time for myself." We tried calling her several times over the next few days. No answer. Her husband ignored our messages too. We ended up having to care for 2 young kids with our own child and all the family chaos. And it was exhausting. The kids were confused and upset, and my niece kept asking when her mom was coming back. After about 4 days, I told my sister she needed to come get her kids immediately. She texted back saying she wasn't ready and that my parents and I could deal with it. I told her that was unacceptable. I said that if she didn't come get them in 24 hours, I would have to take legal action because this wasn't safe or fair to the kids. She didn't respond after that. So after the trip ended, my parents and I had to coordinate caring for the kids for weeks because my sister was still unreachable. We ended up having to call Child Protective Services because no one could get in touch with her or her husband, and the kids were effectively abandoned. Fast forward 2 months. My sister suddenly shows up at my house, claiming she's ready to take her kids back. She says she needed to sort out her mental health and that she didn't mean to abandon them, but she felt overwhelmed and needed space. Here's where things get even worse. She demanded that I return all her kids' things and that we have no more contact with her unless we stop acting like she's a bad parent. My wife and I told her no. We said that leaving children behind without arrangements was neglectful and that we couldn't just pretend it never happened. My sister got furious and accused us of playing God and trying to ruin her life. She said she'd take legal action to get full custody away from my parents and me if we didn't back off. At this point, I'm torn. I want my niece and nephew to have a safe, stable home, but my sister's actions were irresponsible and hurtful. I don't trust her to take care of the kids right now, and I honestly don't want her around the kids without supervision. Family members have started taking sides. My parents say I was too harsh and should just forgive my sister. Some relatives say I'm right to stand firm for the kids' sake. I'm feeling really guilty because I want to believe my sister could be a good mom, but I can't ignore how she left her kids behind like that. I also don't want to be the bad guy who's blocking a mother from seeing her children. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to let my sister have her kids back immediately after she abandoned them during our family trip. Should I just forgive and let her take them home? Or am I right to hold her accountable and protect the kids first? AITA for refusing to take my sister's newborn to meet our grandmother after a huge family fight. I, 29F, have always been close to my family, especially my sister, 32F. We grew up in a small town, and our grandmother has been a central figure in all our lives. She's 85, and while her health isn't perfect, she's sharp and full of life. Our family is tight-knit, and we all make a point to visit or call regularly. A few months ago, my sister had her first child, a beautiful baby boy named Max. It was a joyful occasion for all of us, but it also stirred up some old family tensions that I honestly didn't expect to resurface. Before Max was born, my sister and I were on great terms, even though we've always had our usual sibling disagreements. Here's the background on the tension. Our grandmother has always favored my sister over me. It's never been a secret, but it was something I accepted and dealt with. Grandma would shower my sister with gifts, take her out for special lunches, and often ignore me when I visited. I wasn't jealous, more like resigned. But when my sister announced her pregnancy, Grandma went all out, preparing a nursery room at her house and talking nonstop about her future great-grandchild. The problem started when my sister decided she wanted to keep Max away from me initially. She claimed it was because I have some health issues, including a mild but persistent respiratory problem that flares up occasionally, and she was worried about Max catching anything. I understood the concern, but felt hurt that my sister wouldn't let me be part of the baby's first few months. What made it worse was that my grandmother immediately took my sister's side, saying I was too risky to be around Max, even though I was careful and followed all precautions during visits. I tried to explain that I was willing to get tested for anything and maintain strict hygiene, but they both dismissed me. About a month ago, my sister invited me over for a visit, but only said I could come if I didn't bring Max to meet Grandma. I was baffled because, obviously, Max isn't mine. I'm just his aunt, but it felt like they were treating me like some kind of contagious danger. I declined to visit if I couldn't hold the baby or meet Grandma with him, saying it felt unfair to be excluded like that. She accused me of being selfish and trying to control the situation. Then last weekend, things blew up. Our grandmother had a mild stroke and was hospitalized. The doctor said she'd recover, but needed rest and visitors who wouldn't overwhelm her. My sister and I agreed on one thing. We both wanted Grandma to meet Max at the hospital as soon as possible. When the hospital set visiting hours, my sister insisted that she would be the only one to bring Max. She said the hospital staff agreed with her because of my health. I tried to argue, but was blocked from the group chat with family updates. I even asked my mother to mediate, but my sister's stance was firm. The family split into two camps, those who supported my sister and those who thought she was being overly protective and unfair to me. Here's the kicker. Last night, my sister posted a video on social media of Grandma meeting Max for the first time with a caption about family healing. I wasn't tagged or mentioned, and it was clear from comments that I hadn't been there. I felt blindsided and deeply hurt. In response, I told my sister I wouldn't attend Grandma's next hospital visit if I wasn't allowed to bring Max, because it felt like they were controlling who I could be around and excluding me from the family's important moments. My sister called me cold and selfish, saying I was making Grandma's recovery about myself. I don't think I'm wrong for wanting to be part of the family and for wanting to share in meeting my nephew, especially since Grandma is getting older and these moments won't last forever. But the tension has made things so complicated. Am I the asshole for refusing to attend future visits if I'm not allowed to bring Max to meet Grandma? Or should I try to set aside my hurt for the sake of family harmony? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend stay in my house after he caused a huge scene and ruined my birthday party? So, this all started a couple of weeks ago. I, 29F, was really looking forward to my birthday this year. I don't like huge crowds or fancy parties, so I invited just a few close friends and family over to my place for a casual evening. I live in a medium-sized apartment in the city, and it's my space where I like to host small gatherings. My sister, Emily, 27F, was one of the people I invited, along with her boyfriend, Mark, 30M, whom I had met a handful of times before. I didn't know him well, but I knew enough to be cautious around him since he's got a bit of a reputation for being hot-headed and argumentative. Before the party, Emily asked if Mark could stay overnight at my place. She said they had a long day planned the next day and didn't want to deal with commuting back and forth. I told her honestly that I wasn't comfortable with that. I like to keep my home a calm and controlled environment, especially during a small gathering like this, and Mark's unpredictable nature made me uneasy about having him stay over. Emily argued a bit, saying it was just one night and it would be easier for everyone, but I held my ground and said no. On the day of my birthday, everything was going smoothly. I had a few friends over, the atmosphere was relaxed, and the food and drinks were flowing. Emily and Mark arrived a bit late, and at first, things seemed fine. But then Mark started getting visibly annoyed over small things. He complained about the music being too loud, the seating arrangement, and even made a comment about how I never changed the furniture. I tried to brush it off because it was my day, and I didn't want to start any fights. Later in the evening, Emily had to step out for a bit, and Mark stayed behind. That's when things went downhill. He started drinking more than usual and became aggressive, picking fights with some of my friends over trivial issues. At one point, he knocked over a vase that was a family heirloom, and when I confronted him about it, he blamed me for having it placed where it was so easy to break. My friends were shocked, and I was mortified. I asked him to leave immediately, but he refused and insisted on staying, claiming I was being unfair and controlling. The situation escalated quickly. Mark started shouting and throwing things, making everyone uncomfortable and ruining the party atmosphere. Emily returned and was shocked by the chaos. She tried to calm him down, but he only got more aggressive. At one point, he even pushed one of my friends, which made me snap. I called a cab for him and told him firmly he had to leave. Emily was furious at me for kicking him out, and she left shortly after, too, saying I was being unreasonable and had embarrassed her in front of everyone. Since then, Emily hasn't spoken to me, and our family is split over the whole situation. Some say I should have been more accommodating since it was my birthday and Emily and Mark were guests. Others agree that Mark's behavior was unacceptable and that I was right to protect my space and guests. Emily has been messaging me, saying I'm a terrible sister for not letting her boyfriend stay and that I'm selfish for ruining her relationship. I'm stuck feeling like I did the right thing for myself and my friends, but also wondering if I overreacted by not letting Mark stay the night in the first place. I'm not sure if I'm the asshole here or if I should just apologize to Emily and let things go. What do you think? AITA for refusing to let my sister's boyfriend live in my house after they broke up, even though he has nowhere else to go? So, here's the situation. My sister, Maggie, and I have always been close, but have very different personalities. I'm 32, work full-time, and live alone in a fairly nice two-bedroom apartment in the city. Maggie is 29, very outgoing, a bit impulsive, and has had a rough few years with relationships and jobs. Over the last 2 years, Maggie dated this guy, Josh, who was charming at first, but quickly showed a lot of red flags, bad financial habits, inconsiderate behavior, and a tendency to rely on Maggie for everything. I always disliked him, but tried to stay neutral since it was my sister's choice. About 6 months ago, Maggie and Josh broke up. It was messy, with a lot of yelling and accusations on both sides. Maggie moved out of their shared place, which Josh kept. A few weeks after the breakup, Maggie started couch surfing with friends and family because she couldn't afford her own place. I was sympathetic and let her stay at my apartment for a few nights until she got back on her feet. After about 2 weeks, she found a small room to rent in a shared house, so I thought the immediate crisis was over. Fast forward 2 months. Maggie calls me one evening in tears, saying Josh has been kicked out of his place for failing to pay rent, and now he's staying on friends' couches but really has nowhere stable. She says he's reached out to her, asking if he can stay with me temporarily. I was immediately uncomfortable with the idea for a few reasons. First, I barely know Josh and don't like him. Second, I live alone and value my privacy and space. Third, I worry about enabling his bad habits by letting him crash here. But Maggie pleaded with me, saying he's in a tough spot and just needs a place for a couple of weeks. I told Maggie I'm sorry, but I can't have him live here. She was upset, saying I'm being cruel and not family-oriented. She even said I was abandoning her and Josh in their time of need. I tried to explain that I don't owe Josh anything and that if he wants help, he should find a way to fix his situation instead of relying on others. Maggie accused me of being selfish and cold, which hurt because I do try to help her whenever I can. A few days later, Maggie messaged me again, saying Josh had contacted her, telling her he was coming over to my apartment to drop off some of his belongings and would hang around for a while. I was furious. I told her to tell him not to come. When he did, I let him put some boxes inside but told him clearly he can't stay. He tried to argue, saying he just needs a safe spot until he figures things out, but I stood firm. Maggie called me out again, saying I'm heartless, and this is how I treat my own family. The tension between Maggie and me has been growing ever since. She stopped talking to me much and has been posting passive-aggressive stuff on social media about family betrayal and selfishness. My friends say I'm justified in protecting my space and that Maggie and Josh need to take responsibility for their own lives. But part of me wonders if I'm being too harsh, especially since Maggie has no other family or support nearby. I want to clarify a few things. I did offer Maggie help when she was homeless, and I regularly help her with small things like groceries or rides. But I have clear boundaries around my home and mental health. Josh has never once asked me directly for help, only through Maggie, and I honestly don't trust him. I've seen how he treats Maggie and others, and I don't want that energy in my space. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for refusing to let my sister's ex-boyfriend live with me, even though he's currently homeless and she's pressuring me to help him? Or should I be more understanding and open my home to someone who really needs it? AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she invited my ex who cheated on me? This has been a tough situation for me, and I'm still trying to figure out if I'm the asshole here or if my feelings are justified. I'll try to explain everything clearly because there's a lot of background. I, 29F, have a sister, 32F, named Emma. We've always been close growing up but drifted apart a bit as adults. We live in different states now, and life has gotten busy, but we still try to stay connected. About 2 years ago, I was in a serious relationship with my boyfriend, Jake, 30M. We had been together for almost 3 years. We lived together, made future plans, and I genuinely thought he was the one. Everything seemed perfect on the surface until I found out he was cheating on me. It wasn't just a one-time mistake or something vague. I discovered he had been seeing someone else consistently for months. He lied, gaslighted me, and tried to convince me I was paranoid before I finally caught undeniable proof. That breakup was brutal. It took me a long time to recover emotionally and regain my trust in people. I had to move out, cut off contact, and start over. My sister Emma was there for me during the initial fallout, but our relationship became a bit strained because she said some things that hurt me, mostly about how I should move on and stop making a big deal about Jake. I didn't feel like she fully supported me. Now here's where it gets complicated. Emma got engaged recently to a guy named Michael, and the wedding planning began. I was happy for her and agreed to be part of the bridal party. I was excited, but also nervous because she started inviting a lot of people from our shared social circles, including Jake. When I asked Emma why Jake was invited, she said, "We're all adults, and the past is the past. It's a big day, and it's not about old drama." She also said she and Jake had patched things up over the years and that he had apologized to her for how the breakup went down between us, which I didn't really want to hear. I told her honestly that I didn't feel comfortable having him at my sister's wedding because of what he did to me and how it still affects me emotionally. Emma brushed it off and said I was overreacting, that it was unfair to ask her to uninvite someone just because of my feelings. She accused me of being selfish and immature for holding a grudge that was years old. She also mentioned that Michael liked Jake and wanted him there. This made me feel even worse, like my pain didn't matter at all. I told Emma that if Jake was coming, I wouldn't attend the wedding. She said that was dramatic and that I was being unreasonable to let my personal issues ruin her big day. She also said it would put her in a tough spot with Michael and the rest of the guests. I stood my ground and told her I wasn't going to be around someone who hurt me so deeply. I reminded her that family support meant a lot, and this felt like a betrayal. Emma said if I didn't come, it would damage our relationship forever, and that I was choosing the past over her happiness. We haven't spoken much since. I'm heartbroken because I really wanted to be there for her, but I also can't bring myself to face Jake in such a personal setting. Now, a couple of family members have reached out to ask if I'm really going to boycott the wedding over this. Some say I'm justified, but others think I'm being petty and making it about myself. So Reddit, AITA for refusing to attend my sister's wedding because she invited my ex who cheated on me? Is it unreasonable to expect her to uninvite him? Should I just suck it up and go for her sake? Or am I right to put my mental health first? Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos also. Leave a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.